Welcome to Wildcat Science with Mrs. Haugo. This is Human Biology, Chapter 8 on the muscular system. So we're going to be learning about Sue in class, and I would like you to write these things down now. Overview of the muscular system. So basically, muscle tissue can only do two things. It can contract and it can relax. And those are the only two things that the tissue itself can do. The primary functions of muscles are movement, stability, and heat production. There are three types of muscle tissue: skeletal, cardiac, and smooth. So let's learn about skeletal muscle. These are what you think about when you think of muscles. They are attached to bones by tendons and create movement at your joints. Skeletal muscle cells, so looking at the cell of a skeletal muscle, are going to be long and cylindrical, just like this picture here. And often they call them fibers because they are so long and cylindrical. They look striated, like this picture, because of the arrangement of their protein strands in there. So they have dark and light bands. They're also, one cell or one fiber is multinucleated. It has multiple nuclei. And it is under voluntary control, so you can flex your bicep whenever you want to. The second type of muscle tissue we're going to talk about is smooth muscle. Smooth muscle is found in the walls of hollow internal organs like intestines or blood vessels. So the walls of your blood vessels and the walls of your intestines are made up of smooth muscle, like this one. And also, there we go. They do alternate contractions of longitudinal and circular muscles that lead to this thing called peristalsis, a wave-like motion that moves substances along. So it will alternate circularly and then like longitudinally and then circularly. It's hard to see it on this one. And then longitudinally, and so it kind of just pushes that food or blood along. And smooth muscle cells are elongated and spindle-shaped, which is something that people did when they, spindles are something they do in like sewing and making yarn, but it's kind of like a really long football shape, a really elongated football shape. They look smooth. They don't have those striations that the skeletal muscles had, and they only have one nucleus per cell, and they are under involuntary control. So if I said, move the food in your intestines over an inch, you couldn't do it. It is not voluntary control. The third type of muscle tissue are cardiac muscles, and those are, there we go, found in the heart, and they are the actual pumping mass, like that's the mass of your heart is made up of cardiac muscle. So cardiac muscle cells are short and branched and interconnected. You can see that these are shorter than the other two, and then they have these branches. And they look striated, just like the skeletal muscles. And they usually have one nuclei, but that's not set in stone. They are under involuntary control. If I said, like, have your heart beat 5 times right now, you couldn't do it. It's not under voluntary control. So let's look more at our cardiac muscles. So they are branched, and the membrane between the cells allows those electrical signals to travel quickly from one cell to another. So the question is, why do you need the electrical signal to travel quickly between one cardiac muscle cell and the next? So it is because the heart muscle cells need to contract as one unit and pump blood out. So your whole heart needs to pump at once. If you had cells going all over the place, contracting at different times, you would never be able to pump blood out and then you would die. So the membrane between the cells looks like a dark line. So sometimes they call these gap junctions or intercalated discs. So you want to be familiar with those words. So again, we have three types of muscle cells: cardiac, skeletal, smooth. Cardiac found in the heart. Skeletal muscles are the muscles connected to your bones, and smooth muscle cells are found in the walls, making up the walls of hollow organs. So we're going to do a little quiz on your paper. Write muscle tissue quiz 1, 1, 2, 3, and then take a guess which one of these is skeletal, which one of these is smooth, and which one of these is cardiac. Okay, you should have them written down by now. And number 1 is skeletal. If you got that, good job. Number 2 is cardiac. If you got that, good job. And number 3 is smooth. If you got all 3, good job. Okay, getting ready for quiz 2. Again, write on your paper number 1, number 2, and number 3, and take your guesses as to which one is skeletal, which one is smooth, and which one is cardiac. Okay, if you don't have it written down yet, you want to pause the video. We have number 1 was skeletal muscle. If you got that right, good job. Number 2 was cardiac muscle. If you got that, good job. And number 3 is smooth muscle. If you got all 3 of those, good job. So let's take a look how we would know this. You can see the skeletal muscles, those fibers, those cells are really long and cylindrical, and they have those obvious striations. And this one, if you look carefully, you can see those intercalated discs, and they're not so long, so they are shorter and more branched. They don't fit quite nicely together. And then this third one, smooth muscle, you can see it doesn't have the striations. Okay, this last quiz, number 3, I want you to make this box and write skeletal, cardiac, smooth up at the top, where it's found, nucleus, striations, and type of control. And you want to pause the video until you have that done. Now that you have that box done, I want you to take guesses as to where they are found in your body, how many nuclei they have, do they have striations, yes or no, and are they voluntary or involuntary control. So pause the video until you have that filled out. Okay, now we're going to correct yours and see how you do. We have skeletal are found connected to bones, cardiac is found in the heart, and smooth is found in hollow organs. So you want to correct those if you don't have the right answers. Nucleus, skeletal is multinucleated, cardiac usually one nucleus, and smooth is one nucleus. Again, you want to correct that. Striations, yes, skeletal muscle is striated. Cardiac, it is striated and branched, yes. Smooth, no, not striated. Type of control, skeletal is voluntary, cardiac is involuntary, and smooth is involuntary. So, how many right did you get out of 12? Right, the last thing I want to talk about today are the functions of muscles. So, the first one is movement. And movement, muscles are responsible for all movement of the body. So let's break this down by type of muscle tissue. So skeletal muscles are attached to bones by tendons, and they cross joints, so when they contract, the bones they attach to are going to move closer to each other. So the biceps brachii is attached to my shoulder and my elbow, and then when I contract it, it moves my forearm closer to my shoulder. Okay, let's look at smooth muscle. Well, how do they cause movement? Because they don't help me move my hands at all. They are found in organ walls, and they move the contents of the organs. So like food in your intestines, digested food in, food in your stomach, digested food in your intestines, blood in your blood vessels, and so on. And this contractions that produce movement of the organ contents, that's the peristalsis, that wave-like longitudinal and circular contractions. So cardiac muscle, well, that produces atrial and ventricular contractions. So the atria are the top two parts of the heart, and the ventricles are the bottom two chambers of the heart, which is good for us because then it pumps blood from the heart into the blood vessels, and then the blood vessels are made out of smooth muscle. The second type of function of muscles is stability. So muscles hold bones tightly together and stabilize the joints. If you didn't have those tendons and muscles holding your joints together, a lot of them would fall apart. So you have small muscles that hold the vertebrae together. So each little vertebrae has muscles that attach it to the one above and the one below, and that stabilizes your spinal column. Otherwise, all these vertebrae would not stay together, and that would cause major problems. So the large muscles of your legs, your buttocks, your back, and your neck, and your abdomen, they help maintain posture. So when you stand up, when you sit down, you're using those muscles to keep your body where it is. And then you have those deep core muscles are especially important for stability and posture. And we're going to talk about what deep core muscles are. So kind of like the pelvic floor, these muscles around the vertebrae, and not the abdominal muscles you can see. There's actually 4 layers of abdominal muscles, and the deepest one, the transversus abdominis, is the one that is your core muscle. Finally, the third type of function for muscles is heat production. And heat is released with muscle contractions. So this movement isn't so efficient. It gives off a lot of heat, which is good for us because that is what maintains our body temperature. So muscles make most of our body heat, and we need that to be about 98 degrees. And if it isn't, we'd get in trouble because we are very infrequently in the surroundings that are 98 degrees. So shivering are actually rapid small muscle contractions because your body is starting to get cold. So it says, oh, we need to make more body heat. So it does a bunch of contractions, and those muscles make heat. So if you're cold, what do? You move your body to warm it up. All right, so that's going to be it for our first video. And in our next video, we're going to talk about muscle structure. See you then. Bye.